first thing that we're going to do is get out that piece of paper that you probably printed out, cut out the guitar body shape with a scissors or an X-Acto or whatever. Once you get it cut out, trace it onto your 1/4 inch thick piece of wood. We're using basswood because it's really easy to deal with, super easy to sand, so I prefer it if you can get it. So trace it on there, cut it out with like a coping saw or a scroll saw if you have one. That would be awesome. When you're done cutting, you're going to find that there's all kinds of like rough saw marks all over the place. This one looks really terrible. So I had a Dremel tool with like a drum sanding bit. This is like a rough one, probably like 100 grit or 150. And I went around the entire perimeter of it and sanded it nice and smooth. It was actually really easy to do and really quick. And then I sanded down some of the corners and edges. If you look at a Fender guitar, everything's all rounded and smooth. There's also these little divots. I think they call it like the comfort body or something. There's one in the bottom corner and then there's one in the back, right like below on the other side of the knobs. Sand that down. When you finish that, get your regular hand sandpaper. Start with a rough grit, I think 150 I'm using right here. And then I went to 320 and all the way to 600. Like I said, the basswood's super soft, so it is really easy. It's really quick, but just take your time on here. Make sure that's nice and smooth. Make sure all the hard, sharp corners are gone. The whole body is like rounded everywhere, so make it nice and smooth. The better you do here, the better it's going to make it come out in the next steps. Okay, the next step is going to be making the neck. We're going to cut out the piece of the neck from the paper. And we're going to trace it onto our 1/8 inch thick piece of wood. When you get to cutting this out, be really careful. Cut your cross cuts really deep. If you're using a razor blade, cut them all the way through if you can. When you start cutting the length of the neck, you don't have those cut through it, it will split off. It did it to me like 3 or 4 times, so just be really careful when you do it. Once you get it all cut out, you're going to want to sand it, starting with the heavy sandpaper. Remember, the back of a guitar neck is like rounded, it's like a half round shape, so sand it nice and good. And after you get through all your sanding, then you're going to want to cut a notch out for the neck to fit in the body. That notch is about 3/8 inch by 1/4 inch, give or take, and maybe like an inch deep. And here I'm starting with painting. I used acrylic paint mixed with water to get the color that I wanted because I didn't really have a stain that I liked. They were all too dark. And then I took a darker, I think it was called ochre, and I just dabbed a sponge in it and kind of sponged around the edges to make that faded look, and then painted the rest with a paintbrush. Now what I'm doing is I'm gluing like a piece of scrap to where the neck goes. This is going to help with painting. So I'm going to take some clear enamel and take it outside and spray kind of a light coat on it. I'm going to wait for it to dry. And then I'm going to sand it a little bit with 600 grit sandpaper that kind of knocks all the bubbles and the little waves and dips out of it and makes it nice and rough for the second coat to go on. So here you'll see the second coat is nice and shiny when it's done. And there it is. Looks kind of like a real guitar. Clear, polished kind of shine. If you really wanted to shine more, you could polish it with like car polish or actually guitar polish if you really wanted to. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is cut out the pick guard. I'm making it out of white polystyrene that I got from a hobby store. I think it's called Evergreen brand. I kind of like this stuff. So trace it out on the polystyrene, cut it out with an X-Acto knife. Then when I get it cut out, I got to sand it just a little bit with some blade marks and sharp pieces that I want to kind of round out and make it nice and smooth. Then the next thing I'm going to do is tape them to like a piece of scrap wood so that I can use it as a handle for paint. And here it is with first coat of black paint on it. I didn't even actually have to do more than one coat on this. It was really nice and glossy. There was no real like runs or drips or anything. Next thing we're going to do is mark the fret lines on the neck and then punch little holes in the head where the tutor pegs go, and then we're going to drill those out with a tiny 1/32 drill bit that I got with the Dremel set. Here I'm going to start putting the tuner pins in. They're about 1/4 inch long. I kind of just dipped them in glue and stuck them in the holes. After they're all in there, you can kind of press them down and cut any long ones down if you want, and file off the ends so there's no sharp words. The next thing I'm going to do is cut little tiny slots for all the frets. So we're making the frets out of just stick pins, but they don't really sit where you want them to sit on the neck without cutting these little notches in. So do that, take your time, make them straight, make them just, they don't have to be very deep, they just have to be notches like over the glue. And then you're going to glue one of the pins in each of the slots. Now you see I just put a tiny bit of glue in here, but actually when you get them on there more, put that tiny bit on until they're on there, but then just, you gotta dump a lot of glue on there, unfortunately. So when it's dry, then you want to trim all the edges off. A bunch of mine flew off because I didn't put enough glue on the first round, so make sure you do that. Then I have a little grinding bit on my Dremel, and I'm kind of grinding the ends of the frets so that they're like the right length, not hanging over the neck too far. And actually frets are kind of ground down really nice anyway, so it looks really cool. The next thing I'm doing here is I'm making the pickup. So I'm going to cut a 1/8 inch strip, which is 3 millimeters, and then cut each of those strips about 3/8 inch long. So I need 3 of those, one for each pickup. And then I like nip off the corners to kind of start rounding them. Obviously pickups are not rectangles, they're kind of rounded. So nip them off and then take a little piece of sandpaper and make them nice and round like they should be. Now you can glue the pickguard to the body. Just use a little bit of glue on the back of it and just kind of stick it where it belongs. Then when you're done with that, you can glue your pickups to it. If you really wanted to, you could cut a hole and fit the pickups in there, but you can't really tell at this scale, so just glue them on there where they belong and move on. Next thing I'm going to do is create the neck plate and the back plate. This is the neck plate. It's a little piece of metal that holds the neck to the body. Just cut it out a piece of styrene. What I'm doing here is I'm dotting little dots of white glue on each corner to represent screws later when we paint them. It'll look really cool. Round out all the edges to your pieces. Just like the pieces in the past, all the fender parts are nice and round. Now I'm cutting the couple pieces for the bridge. The bridge is the same width as the pickups and the neck and the neck plate and everything. So cut another piece and then cut another little slice. I don't know, take a look at a bridge. They have a shape. Here's a close-up of the one that I have. Now we're going to make what I've been calling the tuner bodies. They're the parts of the tuners where the little gear goes in. I made 6 3/8 inch little squares. Then I had to trim that little piece off the bridge. I'm just painting all the metal parts. So you can see those glue dots that I put on the neck plate before look really cool now. Alright, now I just put a little blob of super glue on a piece of cardstock. I'm going to use it to dip the little tuner bodies in there and glue them to the back of the neck. Then I'm going to take I'm gluing the back plate on the back, obviously. And the neck plate. And I'm trimming off the excess on the tuners right there. And now I'm going to glue one bead on the end of each one. So I just stuck a little bit of glue on the end of the pin, and the bead fits right on there, so use the tweezers. Now I'm going to make a mark for the input jack. Use a Sharpie, pencil doesn't work. Then I use like a triangle, I don't even know what kind of bit that is, it's like a grinding bit on a Dremel, but you could maybe even slice it out with an X-Acto if you didn't have a Dremel. Next time I'm going to take a really fine paintbrush, the finest that I have, and some silver paint, and I'm going to make little dots, 6 dots on each of the pickups. I'm going to paint the input jack, I'm going to paint the pickup mounting screws, I'm going to paint the screws that hold the pickguard on, any other details that are silver at this time I'm painting them. This little plastic piece is called the nut. I don't know why it's called the nut, but it's called the nut. I'm just going to glue it on. Then I'm going to paint the marker dots on the neck. Look at a picture of a guitar to make sure you get them right, count it all out and everything. Then there are actually holes on the back plate, but I found that when I cut holes in there, you couldn't really see it, so I painted little black dots on it. It seemed to work better. There's also a couple of screws on the back plate, so don't forget those. Here I'm cutting off the extra piece of the nut that was on, that I glued on, and I trimmed it a little bit. And then we're getting near the end, we're going to glue the neck to the body. First we're going to make a little knob. So what we're going to do is use polymer clay, and I just rolled out 2 little tubes. Now, it's really hard for me to tell you what sizes they are. I measured them, 5 32nds of an inch and 3 32nds of an inch, but you're not going to really measure that. Just make something that looks the right size. One circle's a little bit bigger, and then you stick the 2 circles together to make the knob. Then I pulled out a bunch of lengths of metallic thread for the strings, and I glued 1 string to each of the saddles on the bridge. And let it dry thoroughly. While the strings are drying, I glued the knobs on. I just got out of the oven. I'm going to finish putting the strings on, so I put a little dot of glue on each of the tuners and wrapped the string around there 2 or 3 times, and just held it until it dried. It takes a little while. Do one at a time because they start to stick together. Here I'm cutting a little slot for the selector switch. I don't actually cut that far into the plastic, I just cut the paint away a little bit. Then I heated up a needle with a butane torch and just kind of stuck it in there, trimmed off the extra. It worked really good, I didn't even have to glue it. Then I trimmed off the extra strings before I used some black paint to paint some detail on the knobs. I just put a little dots for the numbers and a kind of a little stripe for the Fender logo that each of the knobs would have. And that ends up being about it. What do you think?